Good morning, everyone. It is about 4:15 in the morning and we are just coming into New York. We are about to go past the first bridge. There is a container ship that's leaving and then we are going to go past the Statue of Liberty. I am so excited. We missed seeing the Statue of Liberty on the way out because our ship had technical problems and we didn't leave until 12:30 in the morning, and by that time I was sleeping, so I made the point of getting up at 4 in the morning to see the Statue of Liberty. So I'm going to take you along and we're going to go past it. We are about 5 minutes away from 7:15 and we have our luggage here and we are waiting to get off the ship. At 7:15 that's when we're supposed to, but we'll see if they get clearance on time.
Yeah, get ready with your ticket, yeah? Don't forget. Oh, you can have
Yes, thank you.
Please have your key card out ready for scanning. And on behalf of Captain Mary, our General Manager Tony, myself, Elizabeth, your Group Director,
So after that final clip, we had to go down this really steep ramp, and that's why I stopped filming. And then we went through customs. That didn't take long at all. And then we took the elevator down, and there were taxis, Ubers across the street just waiting to pick you up. So we found a guy to take us on an Uber. So we are now in the Uber and just gotten off the Uber, and we have dropped our luggage off at a stasher location. And now we are walking to the 9/11 Memorial Museum. It is about 8:45. It opens at 9, and so we have a tour booked through the museum, and so that starts at 9:30. So we are going to make our way there.
Nothing, when you were down. Where were you exactly? They stopped it.
Left the 9/11 Memorial Museum, and that was such a very powerful and sacred experience. I didn't know what to expect. We ended up booking a tour, and that was just so powerful. I got so much more out of it than if I would have just walked around and read signs for it. There were a few things I wasn't allowed to record that were like super, I don't know what the word is, maybe fascinating, but one of them was they had security footage from the airport of the terrorists going through that morning, and you could just see that, and that was like shocking to me. Like, I know they had to, I'm looking at two shirts. I know they had to have like gone through airport security. I just have never really thought about it like that. And then there was also a place where there was a picture of every single person that has died from 9/11, and you could like click on the person's picture and then listen to their story, and that was just really powerful too, because everybody has a story, and you get to learn a little bit more about the people that way. So I would say if you have an opportunity, you should definitely go to the 9/11 Memorial Museum. We spent almost 2.5 hours there. We could spend more time there, but we have a plane to catch, and I've heard that lots of people's flights were canceled, so I heard the airport is going to be really busy. So we are now on our way back to get our luggage from Stasher, and then get an Uber or taxi to take us to the airport. And I hope you have enjoyed following along on my adventure of 29 days from New York all the way up to Iceland and back to New York. New York City is exactly like you see in the movies. You literally just wave down a taxi and they will stop for you. It took us about 10 minutes to find one, and we had to go about a block or two, but it was an interesting experience. Our Uber driver said he would come pick us up. He did not respond, so we just called a taxi, like by waving it down. So that was a neat experience. So we made it to our gate, and now I'm going to find something to eat. And I know I said last night that I said goodbye to Mary and Ron, but I officially just said goodbye to them now because we were literally across the hallway of the airport at gates. So we said our goodbyes again, and we had some really nice conversations again. Hello everyone, we have come to the end of our cruise in New York. It has been such a fabulous time with so many memories, so many highlights, and I'd like to thank you all for watching along, whether this is your first video or if you've watched all 20-something videos. Thank you for being here, and I'm gonna get my dad to share about his highlights.
My highlights were when we were in Iceland and I saw that big geyser and pots of water boiling away, and also going to Port Christian Fjord. That was just amazing. You know, you saw some seals laying on the ice as the ice floated past the ship, and those glaciers and the mountains and everything else.
So the geyser that he's referring to, we saw one in Reykjavik on the Golden Circle tour, and then the active geothermal pits that he was referring to, those were in Akureyri, and the Prince Christian Sun, that was something we sailed through in Greenland, and not everybody gets to experience that. This is the first cruise of this ship of this season where they've tried to sail through. They tried to sail through 2 times before, but the entrance was 90% covered with ice. So if you see this on your itinerary, it's a must, but you also have to be prepared that they might not be able to go through it. And then I have 4 highlights of this trip, and these are in no particular order. My first is those active geothermal pits that we saw in Akureyri. That was just so amazing to see the water bubbling, and then the cauldrons that we saw. That was just incredible. And then in the Golden Circle tour in Reykjavik, we were able to go to Thingerville National Park and walk between the tectonic plates, and I just thought I would be able to stand on each of the tectonic plates, like my right foot on one and my left foot on the other. I didn't realize that they had separated so much, so it was super cool to walk in between the tectonic plates. And I know that he really liked that they held parliament there.
Yeah.
They held parliament there in Iceland, and it was just this little like seated area, and it's just super informal, and they say they still hold parliament there about once a year. And then my third highlight of the trip was that boat excursion we took in Nuuk. We were able to see a whale, and I didn't think that was a guarantee, but he said, first we're going to see the whale, and I had no idea how he could guarantee us a whale, but we saw a whale, we saw the tail go into the water, and then we saw a really nice waterfall. We got so close. We saw
the blowholes as of the whale shooting the water into the air too.
And we got so close to the waterfall that like it got all on my face, it got all on the camera. That's how close we were. And then we saw some huge icebergs. We went 360 degrees all the way around the iceberg, and that was just so interesting. You could see it melting into the water just by how warm it was. And then there was one iceberg that was cut up into 3 different sections, so that was really neat. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
My fourth highlight is we met some dear friends, Mary and Ron, on this trip, and they've just become so dear and precious to us that it really has been an amazing time getting to know them. And it's bittersweet leaving because they live all the way in Florida, and we won't get to see them all the time because we live way in Saskatchewan. And so I've just really enjoyed hanging out with them and having conversations and just being together with them. And they were so gracious that they allowed me to film their highlights of the trip. So I am now going to pass it off to Mary and Ron to share their highlights of the trip.
Well, my favorite part of this cruise was meeting Alicia and her dad. It was a real treat. It made so much fun because we got to spend time with them, get to know them, and just experience something new with them. And as far as the things we got to see that Prince Christian Fjord, and we got to see it because we could be at their balcony and look out and see it of the glaciers and the little village and all the beautiful mountain configurations and the waterways and the icebergs. It was just, I just didn't even know that was going to be part of the trip. Did you?
No, I didn't know
Throwing
that
it
was
to you, Ron.
part of the trip, but I just the whole experience, since we live in Florida now. Used to live in Ohio, but to get into the maritime provinces and then to be able to go to Greenland, to Iceland, and to experience just the change of the area, eventually see some icebergs, which is really neat to see, and then some whales and various fish and so forth. So that was great. But I agree that the Prince Christian Sound, or the Prince Christian Fjords, is probably the most dramatic. To have a ship that normally has difficulty getting into those areas, and then going through there and see the beauty, which is, the rocky areas of Greenland, which is very, very rocky, and then have it just plunge right into the sea. It's really,
and
really
the waterfalls in there
quite
too.
Striking and beautiful.
And you think that's hidden. It's hidden for most of the year. So to be able to see it was a real privilege. Our cruise was at the time of the year you actually could pass through.
Yes, and I think that beyond the geography, one of the things that's always so interesting for us is just meeting the people of those areas. So that's at least half the trip. You really get to discover what their lives are like, whether in Greenland, or at least a couple of ports there, and then into Iceland. So that's always great to do. And then, of course, there's just goodwill among people from different nations.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we got to learn so much about Canada
Yes.
and your province, Saskatchewan. So
Yes, that was
we
fun
felt
too.
so privileged to get to know both of you and
We
learn
feel the
about your
same way.
wonderful province and your wonderful country, Canada.
Yeah, but this all happened because this was the top on your bucket list right now.
Yes.
Was going to Iceland, and we're like, oh, how's that going to ever work out? And so when this cruise came along, it combined your desire to go up the northeast coast and go to Greenland and Iceland. So it's nice. Yeah, it's good.
As far as surprises, I would say, first of all, we overpacked. You read so many things about
Yeah,
layer your clothing, weather can change, Greenland, ice,
Yeah.
all of that's true.
Yeah.
But having picked the time of the year that we went was so helpful
yeah.
in that regard. We did overpack, and
We
we're
were actually too
surprised.
hot one day.
On the way over, Greenland and Iceland was actually warmer,
Yeah.
and so at times we barely needed a jacket coming over. But on the way back, it was cooler in some places on the cold side.
Yeah.
But a great
I
trip.
think 43 was like the lowest that we were out in. 43
Yes.
Fahrenheit. Yeah.
I think it averaged between maybe the low Fahrenheit 43 to maybe 56 in that range. But having anticipated what we thought it might be like,
I know.
Yeah, I know we were
it was
prepared
quite
for
comfortable.
rain. We were prepared for
Yes.
rain
We had rain
and lots
ponchos.
of wind and like 8 to 12 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. Which would be what Fahrenheit? I don't know what that would be.
Something in like the high 30s maybe.
Oh yeah. And we're used to that in Florida. And we all of our heavy down things we got rid of when we moved to Florida. So we were lucky to have anything quilty. And I didn't use any of my exercise shorts.
And of course, to be well prepared and to be good travelers, well educated from YouTube, we bought various things that we thought we might need,
Yeah.
like hiking sticks.
Yeah, hiking sticks.
And also,
Well, since you fell hiking one time, we would have.
yeah,
well,
but
it had
that was probably more human error.
I did see people walking in Isafjordur up that big hill with
Oh
ice.
yeah. No, that can be helpful.
Yeah.
And then we had
I
hiking
wish I'd
shoes.
had it at that one place we went to a waterfall because it was kind of slippery on the rocks. But we didn't
Isafjordur?
take it. Maybe that big waterfall. Yeah, the one you went all the way to the top.
Yeah, Isafjordur.
Yes, we didn't go very far because it was slippery for us. Well,
Yeah,
slippery
he
for
didn't go
me.
all the way to the top either.
Yeah.
And the hiking shoes we had, we didn't do a tremendous amount of hiking.
We didn't break them in. You were there right out of the box.
But it was still,
But it was
they were
okay.
waterproof. And so
Yeah. I should
probably
let you
didn't need
borrow
them,
that
but
one.
it was probably good to have.
Yeah.
So I think this trip was a real surprise to me in terms of what my expectation was and actually how well it turned out. It's well worth it. Yeah.
Well, I was glad we got to see a couple of different places, like in Iceland. We went to some cruises where they only had 2 stops in Iceland, and then some didn't even go to Greenland. Anyway, this was just nice to see both.
It was. And I know some cruises didn't go to Iceland, but they went to Greenland.
Yes. Yeah. Would you go again? Would you do this cruise again?
I might, maybe one day. I also enjoyed trying to discern the culture, particularly the spiritual climate
Oh yeah.
of Iceland and Greenland, and that was interesting. And then having read a little bit of the history of those nations, those areas, that was helpful. It was helpful as well.
Yeah.
So, and
They have a lot of churches that we got to visit and talk to people about their church.
mhm.
See what their congregations were like and what it was like to be a Christian in Iceland and in Greenland. Yeah.
I was surprised to learn that in Iceland, even though culturally the nation is now Christian because they have an official church that is, Lutheran state church and that kind of thing. But almost all the people that we spoke to in that regard, we didn't speak to a lot of people in that regard, but they basically said that the institutional church is not attended well at all, less than 3 or 4%, and then it was indicated that might be on a holiday or something. I'm sure
It's a state. The country decided it's going to be with.
But it's not to say that there aren't people that are really very much alive in their faith. There certainly are. We met a few of those folks. I would say what surprised me though was how much folklore is in Icelandic culture. It goes way back to the Viking days and all. And so I thought that maybe all of that would have been eradicated with modern times. But to the contrary, we learned that there's a certain amount of, I would call it, certain amount of superstitious impact.
Yeah, like in Iceland, like turning into the elves turning into the lava formations.
Yeah.
That was really interesting to hear that.
And that there's an elf whisperer job.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Probably a very good pain if you can whisper to elves. And they whisper to you. That's odd. Anything else?
No, I think that's
it.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for telling us.
Oh, thank you. It was so fun because our very first excursion was with you too.
Yeah.
And that was where was it? Where were we? In Sydney, so it was like our second stop.
Yeah.
So we got to spend all these 26 days, 24 this way.
And it's been such a privilege.
Well, we feel that way, and our lives have been enriched to get to know them.
Yeah.